My father demanded I be discharged from hospital early to save money and left me alone all weekend. When I canceled all financial support, they called 87 times. Now they live within their means. While I finally spend on myself, you know that feeling. When you're chillin' in life thinking everything's straight, then bam, reality slaps you across the face? That's exactly what went down with me last year. No cap. I was cruising in my Honda Civic. Nothing fancy, but it got me where I needed to go when this massive Ford F-150 ran a red light and T-boned me going like 50. Next thing I know, I'm waking up in Memorial Hospital with tubes coming out everywhere and pain like you wouldn't believe. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive. 3 broken ribs, fractured collarbone, internal bleeding, and a concussion that had me seeing double. They wanted to keep me for at least a week to monitor everything. I was in pretty rough shape. Couldn't even make it to the bathroom without a nurse helping me. The meds kept the edge off, but man, every breath felt like someone stabbing me with a hot knife. My parents showed up the first day, Mom crying and Dad looking all serious like he always does when he's stressed about money. They stayed for maybe an hour, then Dad had to get back to work, and Mom went with him. Whatever, I was used to it. See, I've been the responsible one in the family since forever. Got a decent job right out of college at this tech company. Nothing crazy, but the benefits were solid and the pay was good enough that I could help my folks out. Dad lost his management position during COVID and never really bounced back. Started working at Home Depot part-time while Mom picked up shifts at Walmart. They're not great with money, never have been. So for the past 5 years, I've been sending them about $2,000 every month to help with their mortgage and bills. Yeah, it limited what I could do with my own life, but they're family, right? That's what you do. Day 3 in the hospital. I'm still feeling like absolute garbage when Dad walks in with this look on his face. I knew that look from childhood. It's his, we can't afford this face. We need to get you discharged today, he says, not even asking how I'm feeling first. The insurance only covers so much and we can't afford these hospital bills. I tried explaining that my insurance through work was actually pretty decent and there was a max out of pocket that I'd already planned for. But Dad wasn't listening. Next thing I know, he's down at the nurse's station demanding to speak to. My Dr. Chen, bless her, tried to explain that I wasn't ready to be released. She still needs monitoring for the internal bleeding, and she can barely walk on her own, she told him. But my dad? He starts going on about how they'll take good care of me at home, how they can't afford another day of hospital charges, how the insurance might not cover everything. I'm lying there in my bed, hooked up to monitors, listening to him basically, saying I'm not worth the money it costs to make sure I don't, die or whatever. Updated, so y'all aren't gonna believe what happened next. I'm lying there in that hospital bed, every breath feeling like fire in my chest, watching my dad argue with this doctor who's just trying to keep me alive. Anyone else ever had that moment when you suddenly see someone you've known your whole life in a completely different light? Like, have you ever helped someone for years only to have them turn around and treat you like a burden when you need them most? What would you have done in my shoes? The doctor finally caved, but not before giving my dad the most disgusted look I've ever seen on a medical professional. They discharged me with a stack of prescriptions, strict care instructions, and appointments for follow-ups. I needed help with basically everything. Getting to the bathroom, changing bandages, taking meds on schedule. Basic stuff when you're messed up like I was. Dad helped me into their Toyota Camry, drove me to their place instead of my apartment because it made more sense for them to care for me. We stopped at CVS to fill my prescriptions, and I could see him wincing at the copays even though I handed him my credit card to pay for everything. We get to their house, and Dad helps me to their guest room. Mom brings me some water and my pills, then starts acting all nervous, checking her watch. We actually had plans this weekend, Mom says, not quite meeting my eyes. Your Aunt Linda is having that family reunion up in Lake Tahoe, remember? We RSVP'd months ago. I'm lying there in agony, and they're talking about a freaking family reunion. We'll only be gone for the weekend, Dad adds quickly. You'll be okay on your own, right? There's sandwich stuff in the fridge. Your prescriptions are right here. We'll leave your phone within reach. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They pulled me out of the hospital to save money, then were planning to leave me alone when I couldn't even get to the bathroom by myself? What if something happens? I asked. What if I need help? You can call 911 if there's an emergency, Dad said like that was a totally normal solution. Or maybe call that friend of yours. What's her name, Taylor? The one with the Toyota Prius? Trisha, I corrected him. And she's in Mexico this week. Well, you'll figure it out, he said, patting my hand awkwardly. You've always been resourceful. And that was that. Within 2 hours of bringing me home from the hospital, they'd packed their bags in their Subaru Outback and headed out for their weekend getaway. Left me some Gatorade, crackers, and pre-made sandwiches within reach. Mom promised they'd keep their phones on, but the reception at Lake Tahoe was spotty at best. So there I was, lying in pain in their guest room, unable to easily get up, with nothing but my thoughts and the reality of the situation for company. The house was dead quiet except for the occasional hum of the refrigerator. Every time I needed to pee, it was a 5-minute ordeal of pain and careful movements. Changing? My bandages? Forget about it. I had to wait until I could manage to shuffle to the bathroom mirror. That night, alone in their house, I had a lot of time to think. I thought about how I'd been sending them money every month for years, how I'd postponed my own dreams, buying a house, taking that trip to Europe, even getting a new car to replace my aging Civic, all so they could maintain their lifestyle. The mortgage on a house too big for them, the monthly payments on dad's boat that he used maybe twice a year, mom's Nordstrom card. I thought about how, in my moment of need, they couldn't even be bothered to stick around for a weekend. By Sunday night, when they finally rolled back in with their matching North Face jackets and stories about what Cousin Mike said after too many Coors Lights, I'd made my decision. I didn't say much as they checked on me, asked if I'd managed okay. I just nodded and said I was tired. The next morning, as soon as their house was quiet with them both gone to their part-time jobs, I called an Uber to take me back to my apartment. Left them a note saying I thought it would be easier for everyone if I recovered at my own place. The Uber driver, this dude named Marcus with a spotless Kia Sorento, actually helped me up to my third-floor walk-up, refusing the extra tip I tried to give him. My mom raised me better than to take money for basic human decency, he said. Once settled back in my own space, I made 2 calls. First to my friend Trisha, who immediately cut her Mexico trip short to come help me out. That's real friendship right there. The second call was to my bank. I'd like to cancel all recurring transfers to these 2 accounts, I told the bank representative, giving her my parents' information. The monthly transfers of $2,000 that had gone out like clockwork for 5 years, gone. Then I turned off my phone and focused on healing. Updated. Hold up, folks. I need to tell you what it felt like making that call to my bank. My hands were literally shaking, and I had this weird mix of guilt and relief washing over me. The bank lady didn't even blink when I canceled those transfers. Probably happens all day long in her world. But for me, total game changer. When I turned my phone back on a week later, guess how many missed calls I had from my parents? 7. Not kidding. 87 calls. Has anyone else ever had to cut off family financially? Did the guilt eat at you, or did it feel like finally breaking free from chains you'd been carrying? A week later, I turned my phone back on to find 87 missed calls. Not an exaggeration, literally 87 calls from my parents over the course of 7 days. Voice messages ranging from confused, "Hey sweetie, there seems to be some mistake with the bank," to desperate, "Please call us back, we don't understand what's happening," to angry, "After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us?" That last one really got me. After all they'd done for me, was he for real? I texted them, didn't even call, just sent a message saying, "I'm fine, recovering, don't worry about me." Dad showed up at my apartment the next day. Trisha answered the door and almost didn't let him in, but I told her it was okay. I needed to do this face to face. He came in looking like he hadn't slept in days, hair all messed up, still wearing his orange Home Depot apron like he'd come straight from work. "What's going on?" he demanded. "The mortgage payment is due, and your mother's car needs repairs. We were counting on your help." I just looked at him, really looked at him maybe for the first time in my adult life. This man who had taught me to ride a bike, who had once been my hero, now standing in my living room basically admitting that they'd built their entire financial existence around my support. "You pulled me out of the hospital when I could barely move," I said quietly, "to save money. Then you left me alone when I needed help, to go to a family reunion. We didn't think it was that serious," he stammered. 3 broken ribs, Dad, internal bleeding. I couldn't get to the bathroom without help. "But that's different," he protested. "That was a temporary situation. This is our life we're talking about. We need that money." "And I needed my family," I replied. "Not their money, not their stuff, just them, their time, their care." "But we're your family," he shouted, face getting red the way it used to when I'd talk back as a teenager. "You can't just cut us off." That's when I did it. Didn't yell, didn't cry, just pointed to the door. "No," I said. "Family doesn't act like this. Family doesn't put money above someone's health and safety. Family doesn't leave someone who can't walk alone for a weekend to go party at Lake Tahoe." "But I'm done," I cut him off. "The transfers are canceled permanently. You and Mom need to figure out how to live within your actual means." He stood there sputtering for a moment, then stormed out, slamming the door so hard my IKEA picture frames rattled on the wall. The fallout was about what you'd expect. Mom called crying, Dad sent angry texts. They even got my aunt to reach out, telling me how they might lose their house. How could I be so cruel? Family helps family. I didn't block anyone, but I didn't engage either. Just focused on getting better, going to physical therapy, returning to work part-time, then full-time. Trisha stayed with me until I could manage on my own, proving that chosen family is sometimes stronger than blood. 6 months passed, the calls, and texts slowed, then mostly stopped. I heard through my cousin that my parents had finally sold their 2-big house and moved into a condo. Dad sold the boat. Mom started working full-time instead of part-time. They were adjusting to life within their actual income. And me? For the first time in my adult life, I was saving money for myself. I took that trip to Europe I'd been dreaming about, 2 amazing weeks exploring Paris and Rome, eating pasta at little sidewalk cafes, taking one of those cheesy selfies pretending to hold up the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I started looking at real estate listings, saving for a down payment on a place of my own. Traded in my Civic for a nice Toyota RAV4. Nothing fancy, but reliable and actually this decade. About a year after the accident, I ran into my mom at Target. It was awkward at first, both of us standing there by the home goods section, not sure what to say, but then something surprising happened. "You look good," she said. "Healthy." "Thanks," I replied. "I feel good." She hesitated then. "Your father and we've been doing some thinking about what happened, about how we treated you." I waited, not making it easier for her. "We were wrong," she finally said. "We got so used to you helping us that we forgot how to be parents, how to be there for you." It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. We ended up getting coffee at the in-store Starbucks. She told me about their new, smaller life, how they'd had to adjust but were managing, how Dad was working full-time, again at a hardware store, not making what he used to, but enough, how they'd taken financial peace classes at their church. "We miss you," she said as we were saying goodbye. I nodded. "I'm not ready for regular family dinners or anything, but maybe we can get coffee again sometime." It was a small step, but an honest one. I wasn't rushing to send them money again. That ship had sailed. But maybe, just maybe, we could build something new, something based on actual care and respect, not financial dependence. Updated. So it's been almost 2 years since everything went down, and I still catch myself looking at my bank account sometimes and smiling at that extra $2,000 that stays put every month. Did family dinner with the folks last week? First time in their new condo? It's modest but nice, and there's something different about how they carry themselves now. Dad actually apologized, like a real grown-up apology with no excuses, while we were washing dishes after dinner. Said he was ashamed of who he'd been back then. Crazy how it takes hitting rock bottom sometimes for people to change, you know? Anyone else ever had to completely reset boundaries with family as an adult? Did they actually respect the new rules, or did they try to slide back into old patterns the first chance they got? These days, life has a different rhythm. I bought a small but cute townhouse not far from work, with a spare bedroom that Trisha crashes in sometimes when we have our movie marathons. Still have the RAV4, but I've been eyeing a Mazda CX-5 that might be my next upgrade. Started dating this guy Ryan who works as a physical therapist. Actually met him during my recovery. He gets it, you know? Understands the whole family situation, without me having to explain too much. My relationship with my parents is different. Not what it was before, probably never will be. We see each other once a month or so, usually meet at Panera or Chipotle. Neutral territory. They don't ask for money anymore, and I don't offer. Sometimes I catch Dad looking at me with this mix of pride and regret, like he's simultaneously proud of the independent woman I've become and sad about what it took to get here. Mom asked me recently if I was still angry with them. I had to think about it for a minute. Not angry, I finally told her. Just realistic now. I see you both for who you really are, not who I wanted you to be. She nodded, understanding washing over her face. That's fair. The accident changed everything. Not just physically, but in how I see myself and my worth. I learned that putting myself first isn't selfish. Sometimes it's necessary. I learned that real family shows up when it matters most, whether they're related by blood or by choice. And I learned that sometimes the most caring thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling them, even when it feels cruel in the moment. Last week, I finally took the trip to Japan I'd been dreaming about since college, the one I could never afford while supporting my parents. Standing under the cherry blossoms in Tokyo, watching the pink petals drift down like snow, I felt this sense of peace wash over me. This was what living for myself felt like. This was what I'd been missing. Sometimes the universe has to break you down completely, literally in my case, before you can rebuild into who you're actually supposed to be. Would I go through it all again? The accident, the betrayal, the painful conversations? If it led me here, to this life where I value myself and spend my resources on my own dreams? Yeah, in a heartbeat. Because sometimes losing what you thought was important is exactly how you find what actually is.